Okay, thanks again, everybody, for coming. Now I'm going to talk about supplements, specifically supplements and weight loss, and which ones work, which ones don't, that kind of thing. So you've seen this picture before. This is the energy balance picture, and we said that your weight is the sort of net between your caloric intake and your caloric expenditure. And if a nutritional supplement is going to work, it has to affect one of the sides of these equations, right? It has to either decrease or help you decrease caloric intake, or it has to somehow help increase your caloric expenditure. Those are the only two mechanisms by which they can work, okay? So what are the factors that affect energy balance? Let's put some of these up here. If we look at our intake, there are a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that affects your caloric intake. Hunger, right? The hungrier you are, the more you're going to eat, probably. Portion size. You ever been to a cheesecake factory? Right? People tend to eat whatever's in front of them. So if you go to the cheesecake factory and you get a portion, which is about 3 normal servings of something, if you get a portion at the cheesecake factory of pasta versus a portion of pasta that you get somewhere else that's like a normal human-sized portion, you will eat more pasta from the big bowl that's sitting in front of you. It's just human nature. You will eat more. So, those are things that are highly variable between where you go. If you have larger plates in your house, you will put more food on a bigger plate than a smaller one. Macronutrient distribution, we'll talk about these things individually. Alcohol, satiety, how satisfying is the food that you're eating? How processed is the food? How much fiber is in the food? All these things have a pretty profound effect on what you eat. Even your environment. When I was doing my postdoc at the University of Pennsylvania, you'd walk out of the medical school and there was a line of food trucks, okay? And the first food truck was a cheesesteak truck. And about a block and a half away was like a Mediterranean kebab truck. And I would always go to the Mediterranean kebab truck, unless it was raining or too cold or snowing. And then I would go right to the cheesecake truck because it was the closest thing and I didn't want to walk through the weather to the Mediterranean truck. So depending on the weather would really determine what I ate that day, right? So if it would have been really bad weather in Philly all the time, I would have ate much more cheesesteaks than I did kebabs, right? So, and these are things that we don't think about, but they're things that influence our everyday behavior, okay? How your family views food. Right? I grew up in a family where my grandmother is Syrian, my grandfather's Italian, came right off the boat through Ellis Island, and his family wouldn't accept her until she learned how to cook Italian. So I grew up in a household that was essentially a hybridized Middle Eastern Italian food household. My wife is Pennsylvania Dutch, and all they do is boil everything, right? Now, I always give her a hard time. I'm like, oh, great, we're gonna go eat Dutch foods, throw it in a pot and boil it. But so, if I go to Thanksgiving at her family's house, I'm going to eat much less than if I go to Thanksgiving at my family's house, right? Those are things that we don't really consider that heavily influence what our body weight is. Now, if we look at the calorie expenditure side, there's not a whole lot, right? We said you have your physical activity, which is non-exercise, you're just moving around. Then you have your intentional exercise, you have your resting metabolism, and the thermic effect of food. And that's, like we said, you eat a big meal, you get all hot and sweaty, that's because your metabolism is speeding up trying to break it down. That's the thermic effect, okay? So there's more things on the intake side than on the expenditure side. So what kind of supplements address hunger? So these would be things like appetite suppressants, black pepper, caffeine. These are the common ingredients that are in these things. Chromium picolinate, leptin and ghrelin modulators. Leptin and ghrelin are hormones. Leptin, there's this satiety hormones. Leptin tells you when you're full. Ghrelin tells you when you're hungry. So you can modify those things, but those things generally don't work very well. Appetite suppressants that are prescription appetite suppressants are more effective, but even those are still not great at causing large weight loss. Portion size. As we said, people will generally eat what's in front of them. Now, if you know you're going to go to a cheesecake factory, drink a protein drink an hour before, right? You will eat, now that may not be something that you think about doing, but you will eat less when you get there. You're not going to be completely satisfied from a protein drink, so you're still going to be able to eat, but you're not going to eat everything that's in front of you. Same thing with a fiber drink. Drink a fiber drink. It's not giving you any calories. It's filling you up. It's good for you, and you're going to eat less. And if you pepper these things throughout your day, either a fiber drink or a protein drink, just add them, and you're going to eat less throughout the day. It's not that hard. Macronutrient distribution. Meals that are higher in protein will be more satisfying than meals that aren't. Growing up, I ate a lot of pasta, as you can imagine, based on my ancestry and my family history. But it was very common to come home and eat pasta and bread and nothing else. Right? Why not drink a protein drink along with that? So if you're going to sit down and eat a bowl of pasta that has no protein in it, drink a protein drink with it. It's only 140 calories you're adding and 18 grams of protein. That evens out the ratio of carb to protein and makes that a much more effective meal. It's much more calorically balanced. It's going to be better at glucose control and insulin control. Okay? Or fiber. Drink fiber along with it. Protein would be a better choice. It'd be hard to probably drink fiber along with a bowl of pasta. I mean, your gut would be, but... So, all right, so you get the idea. Okay, booze. Everybody always wants to know about booze, okay? So all of these drinks up here have the same amount of alcohol, okay? They all have like half an ounce of straight up pure 200 proof ethanol, okay? So, but look at the calorie content. So the calorie content you can see varies widely because there's more in these drinks than just alcohol. Beer and wine. Beer is fermented. It has carbs in it, right? If you have a fermented beverage, grapes, they're going to have sugar in them. And that's why these beverages have varying calories. So if you're really interested in bang for the buck, you know, if you drink alcohol for its effects primarily, like I do, then really what you want is straight, distilled gin, rum, tequila, scotch, bourbon, one of those things, because the only calories in it are calories from alcohol, right? So keep that in mind. Now, there's not really a whole lot of supplements that you can use to prevent alcohol. There's nothing really you can do to sort of prevent that absorption or anything like that. I'm just throwing that in there because people tend to ignore the calories that are in alcohol a lot. They don't consider it when you ask what their caloric intake is. So foods that are high in protein, fat, or fiber, that are minimally processed, these things are the most satisfying. And as I said, if you consume fiber and protein throughout the day, this is going to help offset your hunger tremendously. It's going to help offset your hunger. And even if you were to just drink a protein shake, one or two, and don't use them as meal replacements, just add them. You will eat less throughout the day. You will increase muscle mass and lose fat. Okay? That's been shown in other studies looking at meal replacement shakes, not Neo-Life shakes, but we do have a study showing Neo-Life shakes that we're going to talk about in a second. But in general, these protein shakes are extremely effective at preventing hunger throughout the day. So research supports higher protein intakes for weight loss. We talked about this, and this should be, the published numbers are 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram. Okay, and remember, we said the RDA is only 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. This should be in about a 20 to 30 gram serving per meal, and ideally it should be distributed into 3 or 4 different servings throughout the day. So if you were going to have, if you were to have 150 grams of protein, 5 30-gram servings would really be ideal in terms of the distribution and the amount. That's not that critical that it's evenly distributed and whatnot. How much you get is far more important. But if you really wanted to dial it all in and tweak it and be all, gung-ho about it, then that's what you would do, okay? So, and these studies show that protein intakes of about 20 to 30 grams per meal, they impact hormonal regulation and of appetite, and these are the leptin and ghrelin hormones primarily. So your satiety hormones will sort of be kicked in with these higher dosages of protein, 20 to 30 grams. And you may have heard that you can only like absorb 25 grams of protein at a time. That's not true. You can absorb as much protein as you eat will be absorbed and assimilated. It may not all be used for muscle building, but it'll go into the amino acid pool and it's not wasted, okay? So don't think that your gut will only absorb 20 to 30 grams. It won't. Okay, so Neolife shakes are a blend of different proteins, and this is good because proteins absorb at different rates. And proteins are made up of amino acids. And what you want is to have amino acids high in the blood because the muscles are always taking in those amino acids to build new muscle. And different proteins absorb at different rates. So like whey protein absorbs real fast, soy protein absorbs a little slower, and then casein absorbs really slow. So if you have a blend of these proteins, it elevates the amino acids in the blood for a longer period of time than if you just have a single source protein. So blends are really good. It's biologically complete, meaning it has 22 amino acids, okay? And some of those you make by the body. The body makes those. Those are called non-essential amino acids, and then a bunch of those are called essential, and that's important. We're going to talk about here in a second when we talk about collagen. It also has branched-chain amino acids. These are important because these are the only amino acids that the muscle can actually burn and metabolize for energy. So these can become important during high-intensity exercise and long, slow exercise. And it has 5 grams of fiber, which also fills you up. So the combination of protein and fiber in the ratio, with the proper protein carb to fat ratio, which the Neolife shake has, it has that ratio to allow for glucose control and things like that. So this is really sort of an ideal product in terms of allowing you to reach those protein goals. So there was a study looking at Neolife shakes back in 2014 where for 12 weeks they told people to replace 2 meals with a shake. So, and this is what happened. There was significant weight loss. There was a 10% reduction in body fat. There was an improvement in markers of cardiovascular health, including several markers of cholesterol. And they lost an average of 5.27 pounds over that 12 weeks. Now, has anybody ever heard somebody say, yeah, I tried your thing, but I only lost 5 pounds. It didn't really work. Like people minimize 5 pounds because most of the time when people lose 5 pounds, they're losing water, right? Most dietary interventions result in water loss, especially at the beginning. A gallon of water weighs 8 pounds. So if you lost 5 pounds of water, you would never notice that on your body, okay? But if that was 5 pounds of fat, that's what this would look like, okay? So this is an anatomically correct model of 5 pounds of fat. Now you can't tell me that you're gonna lose that and not notice it, right? So if you are losing weight exclusively from fat, you are going to look much, much differently than if you just lose weight. And what if you lost 5 pounds of fat and gained 5 pounds of muscle? Your weight wouldn't move at all, right? But would you rather have that situation or lose 10 pounds of fat from water? If I lost 10 pounds of fat from water, I'd get on the scale and be 10 pounds lighter. I lose 5, but I wouldn't look any different. I lose 5 pounds of fat and gain 5 pounds of muscle. I get on the scale, I weigh exactly the same, but I look like a different person, okay? This is the importance of fat loss versus weight loss. So supplements that hit the calories outside of the equation, there's not many of them, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I want to talk about collagen. So let's go to that. Thermogenics, things that affect, you guys remember things like Stacker and Stacker 2, all these like thermogenic things that are supposed to speed up your metabolism. There's a bunch of caffeine in there. They get you all wired up. They don't really increase caloric burn or anything like that, so they're not really effective. The thermic effect of food, you can't really modify that, but if you exercise after eating, that increases the thermic effect of food and will increase your calorie burning. So I want to talk about collagen because everybody's taken collagen. And collagen, I know more about collagen than I would like to. My dissertation was on how collagen changes and as a result of exposure to microgravity in mice. So, I know more about collagen than I would like to know, but it's made up primarily of 3 amino acids: proline, hydroxyproline, and glycine. And these are non-essential amino acids that your body makes on its own. They're important in skin, everything that collagen is the most abundant protein in your body. It's what's holding everything together, okay? But that's all it does. It's purely structural. These collagen amino acids don't really play any role in muscle building. It's a low quality source of protein, and it shouldn't be factored into your daily protein consumption. Now, I want to show you something here. This is a table showing Neolife Shake versus collagen protein. And I don't remember the exact brand. There it's down there somewhere. So anyway, or I'll show it to you on the next page. The red block there, that's an amino acid called leucine. And leucine, I think I may have said this, leucine is the most important anabolic trigger for triggering muscle growth. So when you take a protein supplement or an amino acid supplement, leucine is the thing that it absolutely has to have in order to make that work, okay? Neolife's shakes contain 11% of the total protein from leucine. Now, if you look at the collagen protein, it's 2%, 2.5%. Neolife Shake has 4 times the leucine of the collagen protein, okay? 50% of the protein, 50% of the amino acids in the collagen are non-essential, things that you make, your body makes on its own, okay? Now these 2 labels, the one on the left is the Neolife Shake and the one on the right is the collagen protein. The main thing, there's a couple things I want you to notice here. The Neolife Shake says nutrition facts and the collagen protein says supplement facts. The FDA labels these things 2 differently because the shake is considered a food, the other one is considered a dietary ingredient. It's something that's added to the food. Okay, now pay attention here to the protein value in the collagen. There's 11 grams of protein and the percent daily value is 0. Okay, if we look at the Neolife Shake, there's 18 grams of protein, that's 36% of the daily value. Collagen protein right on the label says not a significant source of protein, right? So you should not be eating, I'm not saying that collagen doesn't have an effect. The purpose of it is to improve the integrity of your connective tissue, your tendons, your ligaments. It has nothing to do with muscle protein synthesis. So it should not be, if you're tracking food saying, I'm trying to eat 100 grams of protein and 30 of that is from collagen, you're missing 30 grams of protein, okay? So don't be tracking collagen and including it as part of your protein intake. It doesn't count, okay? So, the single most effective supplement for fat loss and body composition is protein. In my opinion, it increases satiety. It has a really high thermic effect. 20% of the calories in protein just get metabolized in burning it. It builds muscle, prevents loss, and it's really, really hard to store it as fat. You eat 1,000 extra calories of protein a day, that's going to be a very different effect than if you eat 1,000 extra calories of fat a day. 1,000 extra calories of fat is going to get stored as fat. 1,000 extra calories of protein is probably going to result in body fat loss and more muscle build. Okay? Fiber is a very good way to increase satiety. Fat burners and these other thermogenics are generally not effective. And as I said, collagen should be used to improve connective tissue integrity, but not as a source of muscle protein or dietary protein. Okay? Very good. I don't really have time for anything because I got a jet. I'm over and I got a flight. So, but thanks again for having me. It was really nice meeting you.